Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Sunday Speaks. I, as always, am Cheyenne, and today I'm here with.
Sam.
Sam, do you want to just tell me a little bit about yourself to start off?
Sure. I'm 27 years old. Um, I've been in recovery for about a year and 5 months. Um, I wait tables, and I make a video game that's a fan game of a viral video game that came out a few years ago. That's very important to me and in my service. And that's a bit about me.
So, recovery looks different for everyone, but something that's helped a lot of people, is like dedicating themselves to some kind of service. So, you had mentioned service. So, what kind of stuff helps you maintain recovery? What kind of stuff do you do to contribute to your community?
Sure. I think I'm really someone who really thrives on service.
Hmm.
Um, I think I really need to be helping people in some way to feel fulfilled and to feel like I'm living a good life. Narcotics Anonymous has been a great help for me in being able to be of service. At the beginning, it was just like, I'd clean up chairs. I'd help set up the meeting if I was there early. Anything to help out and make me feel like I'm a part of something. Since then, I've gotten more involved. I made coffee. Um, I would be a chairperson or a secretary. Though that was a great experience for me and was a lot of help in my recovery and made me feel like I was part of the fellowship. Um, I'm a writer, and I see my writing as a form of service. I
I'm
write
in
on
a
topics of
meeting.
mental health,
I'm in a
of
meeting.
changing yourself, of depression and even addiction in some cases. And I wanted to try to help people with my writing, and I've always kind of wanted to do that. And so I see myself as doing service, as doing it for other people, and that's really what fuels me and what I do.
So before we get into any different specific kinds of service, because you mentioned a lot, I just want to ask, when did you discover like your passion for service? Is this something that you've always known about and it's just flourished while you were doing like the recovery process, or what was that like for you discovering service?
I think recovery really helped quite a bit, because it's a environment of service, and it's very much encouraged and talked about, and that really helped. But I think where I really found a passion for it was there. There was this viral video game that came out a few years ago, 2017, called Doki Doki Literature Club, and it's a parody of like dating simulators.
Hmm.
It's a psychological horror game, but it deals with mental health, suicide, depression, self-harm, and I saw it doing a lot of good for people. If it like made me like care about the characters and stuff and reinvigorated my love for storytelling. But I saw people in the community online, um, really like encouraging each other and being uh, like healthier about these topics. And it inspired me to write about those same topics as a fan game and to try to help people with my writing. And like it took over my life. Like it became the most important thing in the world to me. And it really like threw so much purpose and effort behind it in terms of trying to do this writing to, in my mind, try to help someone else and try to put into practice the lessons I'd learned in my life up until that point.
So what kind of themes does your game deal with, and what is your game called? Because I can link it below if you would like me to plug it in.
Sure. My game is called The Good Ending.
Hmm.
It's very simple, thegoodending.com. You can People can check that out if they want to just see what it looks like, some of the artwork. You should play if you're interested in playing it. You should play the original game first, which is Doki Doki Literature Club. It's free to play. There's horror and some disturbing elements, but it's not like crazy. It's not for everyone. But it's a very sweet story. So the themes that my game deals with are forgiveness, dealing with trauma, um, dealing with depression and finding a purpose in life and a sense of self-worth. Forgiveness, though, is the main theme. And in terms of my recovery, like when I look at making amends and step 8, step 9, I could see that was really an early inspiration in terms of before I knew about the 12 steps. In terms of making amends and how can you make amends to people that you've wronged. That's kind of the main focus of the game.
That's really cool, Sam. Have
Thank you.
you found any success with that? Are you like fandom popular or anything? Or is it
I
like,
am fandom popular. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm a big name in the Doki Doki Literature Club community. It's funny. Yeah, I'm on Discord. So the Discord communities are very popular. It's a social media platform for those who don't know. In the Doki Doki Literature Club community. And I have my own server that people can join if they're fans of the game, and it gives like updates to the game and stuff. So I've done fairly well in terms. There's a lot of fan games of this game. I've done fairly well in terms of being one of the more prominent ones. People say they like it. I've been releasing it in parts, and it was a little slow at first. I remember there was one fan game that said it was partly inspired by mine, and for a while it was way more popular than mine was,
Oh.
which kind of hurt a little bit, but it was also sweet. It's very cool to see someone do something like that. Um, I've had experiences where I'll be in a random Discord server and I'll be chatting and someone will say, "Oh my goodness, it's Sam. I can't believe I'm so starstruck," and which is very cute. Because I'm obviously not famous at all. Like, this is a very small thing. I make a fan game of a game. But people who are into this really, it's very important to them. And, it's a cool community to be a part of.
So, one question before we get into anything serious. Is this like your official face reveal or do people know already?
Yeah, people know. I don't really show my face a lot, but
Yeah.
I like early on, I did like a couple live streams, where I answered questions and stuff like that. That was years ago now. I've released my picture a couple times, yeah. So,
So for anyone, back to like recovery and anything, or just the general topic of like mental health and how that plays into recovery, to anyone who is like struggling with the topics that you mentioned previously, or to anyone that you hope, um, would find your game because they're struggling, do you have like a specific message that you'd like to give them now if they were to be watching this, or?
man, that's tough. Part of the reason I went into so much effort to make a story about this stuff is because I think I have a hard time talking about it. And it's like hard to think of how to give really good advice. And I wanted to make something that was emotionally impactful that could really reach people's hearts. And, storytelling is a really good way to do that, to like get past the intellectual
Mm-hmm.
and go right to the heart. Um, I would say, to take a little bit of inspiration from NA. If you are going through stuff like that, just keep coming, even if that means just keep coming to life and just, things get better. I used to be really depressed and be in a really dark place in life, like borderline suicidal at times. And, I'm so grateful to where I am in life. I'm very grateful to God. I'm in a much better place than I used to be. And, if I can do it, if I can come to a better place and build a life for myself, then so can you.
So something that you had said earlier is that you have kind of like a hard time speaking about it, but you do speak. You speak for alumni in recovery.
Hmm.
So what is that experience like for you?
It's a very strange experience. Talking about my past and all the stuff I've been into in front of a classroom, in front of teachers, and then the teacher comes up afterward and like shakes my hand and like thanks me. It's a very surreal experience. It's very cool. I'm very grateful to do a form of service in that sense. It's been a great experience for me. And every time I do it, I feel more fulfilled and, I'm doing something good and, I'm very grateful for it.
Have you gotten any like interesting questions or comments from any of the kids that you talk to?
A little bit here and there. It's hard to think of something that comes to mind. Sometimes they ask me about my game. They want to know details about that because I do talk about it as part of my story because it was so important to me, and it is part of my story. Um, yeah, it's hard to think of specifics, but people definitely asked about that.
Okay. Let me think. So, yeah, what kind of things do you talk about when you're doing like a presentation? Is it more just like the transition from active addiction to recovery, or is it more centered on like the recovery process and what that was like for you?
I talk about the way I frame it
Yeah.
is that I made certain choices when I was younger
Mm-hmm.
that had certain negative impacts on my life. I had a much more positive view of drugs
Mm-hmm.
and exploring them in the past, and I was influenced in that way.
Yeah.
And so it's important for me to share the decisions I made, the consequences they had, and where that led me in life, and also the choices I've made to get past that, and how recovery has benefited my life. Like, for example, how this has affected my creativity, which is really important to me because like I saw my game as a form of service and something I was doing for other people. And it was really important to me, like really important. I put it above my sleep, above my health, and that almost cost me everything. I almost lost it. Um, and since I've gotten clean and I've been recovering, my creativity has gone way up, and I've been able to actually work on it again. You know, like I was putting off a part I was working on for years, and it was crushing me. And then I got clean, and I wrote it all in like a month.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it took me a while to actually go from writing it to releasing it, like not quite a year, but you know, close to it. But I got it out, and I actually worked on it and finished it and published it. And I've already written the next part. Um, I'm a couple drafts into that, and I'm very excited about the story. And I'm getting into like romance and stuff like that, which I love to write. And I'm very excited about that. And it's just been really cool. And I'm so grateful to Recovery and Narcotics Anonymous in particular for giving me that opportunity again to work on this project because it's so important to me, and it is a wonderful chance for service for me, and just something I hope to do a good job in.
So, I have a question for you. I'm at an age where I'm 19. I'm like a
Hmm.
sophomore in college right now, and I have a lot of friends who are in creative fields. And right now, a lot of them have the mindset of like suffering is art, and you can't
Hmm.
produce good stuff if you're not experiencing some kind of pain, or like art comes from that. So, what kind of response would you have to that mentality?
I mean, look, I'm not going to say there's zero truth to it.
Yeah.
You know, my suffering has had a big impact on my art. But my art is about recovering from the suffering and
Mm-hmm.
finding a better life. And I think that beauty is much more important to art. And that's something you can find in all forms of life. I think an artist can absolutely have had a healthy childhood
Mm-hmm.
and you know didn't go through much trauma, and they have had healthy coping mechanisms and still make wonderful artwork. And I think a lot of artists have gone through a lot of suffering, and that will help your artwork. But it doesn't. You don't have to stay that way. You don't have to stay in the suffering to be a great artist. That you'll always carry that with you. And uh, there's much more to live in life, to have an impact on your artwork than just suffering. Um, I mean, maybe in one sense, you can get too involved in the suffering where your artwork is just about suffering and it's not about beauty and it's not about the higher things in life that you know maybe would be better for you and better for your audience.
So, going back to a little more just about you. So writing, is that something that you've always enjoyed? Is this like your first game project, or like how has that passion kind of like evolved with you through the years?
Yeah. I grew up a bookworm.
Hmm.
This is actually one of the things I talk about when I speak. Is that like I could see like the uh, addictive tendencies because like I would read like nonstop, like in fantasy and escapism. Not that it was like the worst form of that.
Yeah.
There's worse forms than being a reader. Um, but yeah, I read all the time. Like I would like when the new Harry Potter book would come out or a new movie, I would like read all the books forward and then I would read them again backwards. So I would like go one, two, three, four, five, then read book four again, three, two, one. And like that's how much I read and how much I was interested in that stuff. I think I always wanted to be a writer when I was a kid. It was always something that was interesting to me. I kind of found it again. I dabbled with video game development in like middle school, high school.
Mm.
I grew up with video games as well. Uh, I started to write poetry when I was in late high school, and I started to think maybe I want to be a poet. And then I realized that I wanted to be a writer, and I rediscovered that passion. How I did it is I learned about this technique called "Don't Break the Chain," and it's basically a habit forming technique where it doesn't matter how much or how little you do something, whether it's writing or drawing or even like exercise, a good habit. You just what you like have a little chart that like you have an X for the day. And if you did that thing, you get to put the X. And the goal is to just do it every single day. So no matter what, I would write every single day, even if it was just a sentence. And by doing that, I started writing more than a sentence. And I wrote a lot of garbage. And you write a lot of garbage so that you can learn how to write good stuff. And that's how I became a decent writer. I think I'm decent. I'd like to think. And so I just started writing short stories. I got interested in science fiction. Actually, once I'm done with my current game, I want to get back to science fiction in some form. At least that's my current idea. And then maybe making it as a video game, as a visual novel. And I joined like a writing critique groups where people would critique each other's writing, and I learned like good tactics for that. And I think I'm a pretty decent critiquer. If anyone ever needs feedback for their writing, I think I'm pretty decent at it. And I learned that by being in groups and talking to other writers.
So we're about 2 minutes to time, Sam. So if
Hmm.
you had any last comments that you wanted to share before we ended off today.
Oh, geez. I don't know. Follow your dreams. Um, service. You can do service in all kinds of different ways. Um, you know, help people, help the people in your life that are important to you. Do kindness for others. Um, if you're going through something difficult in life, like depression or mental health issues, it gets better. Keep persevering. You'll find what's important to you in life, and what fuels you and gives you purpose. And those are the things that I think are the most important. And I'm a very fortunate person to have found recovery, to have found passion in my dreams, and thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me today, Sam.
Thank you.